How are you doing, man? Happy Monday. How's
Happy
Finland?
Happy Monday. Finland is amazing. Sun is shining, weekend behind us, so full of energy coming to the new week. How are you?
Sun is shining in Finland. Wow. That's good. Spring is
Yeah.
coming, huh?
Yes. Yes. How are you doing?
Really good, man. I just went to the gym. I'm sweating a little bit right now, but I'm very excited to learn from you. So many questions. What an incredible background, man. I'm just
Thank you.
fascinated, and let's see where the conversation will go. And I think let's just get let's just get to it because there's so much to cover, and I'm sure our audience who's watching us on LinkedIn Live, they have some questions as well. So let's get into it. Dude, you've been an entrepreneur now for, I don't know, more than 15 years,
Yes.
and you keep coming back. You keep on
Yep.
doing it. Why entrepreneurship?
Well, I think that there's multiple things. Like I've always joked that the only good thing about entrepreneurship is that you get to choose with whom you work, so you can kind of guarantee that you don't need to work with assholes. So that's one of the good things about entrepreneurship. But like jokes aside, like I don't know if entrepreneurship itself ever was like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. It almost always just happened quite logically. And what I mean about it is, well, like the world around us is changing so fast that it's creating tremendous opportunities. And pretty much like most or even like all of the businesses that I've started, to some extent, it was always to fix some of my own like challenges. And then suddenly it basically just becomes a business. So even like looking at BPCO AI, which is the last venture that I've started, like that product was never supposed to be commercialized. I was building this software for myself. I was trying to solve my own challenge, which I had struggled for many years. And I was like, I need this. I'm willing to pay quite a lot to get this done. Didn't find a product that would do it the way how I wanted and with the opportunities that I saw. And my friends, like, let's not say threatened, but very much encouraged and said that they want to buy a license. And then we just decided that okay, let's go.
Yeah, so you
So
find a pain, you find something that you want to solve for yourself, and then you're like, let's go build it, and eventually there's a lot of more businesses and people that have the same problem, so you scale it and you
e-
take it from there.
exactly, and I think that the challenge that I think that too many people have when starting startups and why the failure rate is also like so high is that it starts from a bunch of people getting together like trying to come up with a problem which might not even be a real problem. So in this case it was never like, hey, let's try to find a problem. It was more like, hey, there actually is a problem. I'm already solving this for myself. I bet that there's more entrepreneurs facing this exact same challenge as well. So maybe take it like one step back. It's not even looking for a problem. It's bumping into it, so you see that the problem is actually real, because too many people who are great salespeople, they sell to themselves that, hey, there's this problem which might not even be a problem for many people.
And you've been quite successful, at least from what we've been discussing, and I've been researching you. You have 3 exits. Um, have all businesses that you started being successful? Let's start from there, maybe.
No, 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 no. I wish it was. It's not like everything that I touch turns into gold. Quite some stuff has also turned into to something completely opposite of gold. So, like the biggest challenge, one of the first ventures that we were building, we had some business angels there, and we thought that they would bring like more support, etc. But that didn't very much happen. They were on the board and kind of like bringing in some stuff, but ultimately we were with the team quite alone. And something that we didn't understand at the time was something called scalable architecture. So the technology worked extremely well with 100 companies using it, but then when you had 600 companies, the whole technology stack was like falling apart, and that was how the first business actually failed. We were like 30 people at the time, and that's probably the hardest 6 months that I've lived, because usually have a bad day and you are like, yeah, next day might be better. In this case, you knew that the new tech stack is going to take like 6 months to build. So every single day for 6 months, you are like, today's a bad day. People are complaining. You are losing customers. 2.5 years of work that you had put in is all going to waste. And you still have, let's say, 162 days left that you can actually like fix. And that business basically fell apart during that time. But during the time fixing this, we found out another problem, which was in recruitment. And with that, we were able again to build another business. And that business again turned out very successful. And there we knew that never fail with scalable architecture again. And you just cannot have good construction people, but you also need an architect and someone who makes sure that the technology stack actually scales with the business as well.
And thanks for sharing that, because I feel like when we talk about entrepreneurship, people see this success story as we only see the accolades. We see
Yep.
your profile on LinkedIn. This guy is successful. He built successful businesses. He's scaling his company now, 180 people, podcasts, keynotes, pitching. Right? It looks like it's all
Yep.
sunshine and roses, but
Yep.
reality is so different. And I want you to talk to me about that, the challenges, the reality, like especially the first few businesses when you're kind of building up this confidence and this experience. Like, tell me about the reality. How many hours per week were you working? How
Well,
did you overcome the kind of the challenges?
it's funny you're asking about this, because this was actually a discussion that we were just having with my wife on Saturday, as she said that, Mikael, you've never been on a parental leave. Like we've never been able to have a 4 week like holiday, like max 1 week. Like I think that to be an entrepreneur, you need to be willing to do a lot of sacrifices, and you need to be willing to do a lot of like tough decisions on that moment. And I personally use a philosophy that you always, at every decision that you make, you look at how does it impact your next 5 minutes, next 5 days, next 5 hours, next 5 years, blah blah blah. But the challenge with that is that you are giving up quite many important things along the way as well. And you just need to be, for example, with family, you need to be extremely clear on like why are you doing these choices, and because it's not only the sacrifices that you make for yourself, but it's actually you're making people around you suffer as well, and they need to be willing to be part of that journey as well. Like what were the hours that I put in? Like I've never calculated it, because the problem is that, for example, like last Friday, we went to bed with my wife, and I almost like didn't sleep the whole night, because there was one thing that we were discussing with the leadership team on Friday evening. So my head goes like thinking about all the possible scenarios, and my wife wakes up, and it's like 4 a.m. I'm still with my eyes open, and she's like, "Aren't you sleeping?" Said that my head is going through all the possible scenarios on this, and it's actually quite hard to rest. So how do you put hours on it? I would say that an entrepreneur ultimately is working 24 hours a day. They might be sleeping 6 to 8 hours, but ultimately active work sitting behind a computer, I would guess that maybe an average week would be somewhere between 70 to 90 hours.
I had a few unicorn founders on the podcast. One of them, Christo Borisov, the founder of Payhawk. He told me the first 4 or 5 years of building the company, he was pretty much working every single waking minute.
Yeah.
Like he wakes up, he starts working, he's thinking about the work on the way to the office. He goes to the office. Then he's like, we get a hit in the morning. We start solving it. We're about to solve it. We solve it. Another hit in the afternoon. Then you kind of resolve it. Then you go home. You take a shower. While you're showering, you're thinking about another problem, reflecting, and then you go to bed.
Exactly.
So it's that's the journey. I think people have the wrong impression, especially the first few years of launching a new business, that it's just sunshine and roses and you're your own boss and it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is like I think that Anthony Robbins puts it extremely well because he says that if you do bad work, you get bad results. If you do like good work, you actually still get bad or maximum decent results. Only by putting in like great work, you actually get or you make a difference. And the problem, if you look at the BCs or the companies being acquired on the market, like no one cares about a good company. There's a shitload of good companies out there, but only the great companies actually stand out. And the marginal margin between the good company and a great company is actually like quite small. So putting those 2 extra hours in every day can actually make that difference. And like even for us today, like VPCAI is growing. Like we've done 4x ARR in the past 14 months, and it's not anymore from 1 to 4, but it's actually from 3 to 12. So it's a quite like big change in terms of growth. But in today's era of AI, that was previously I won't say impossible, but it was hard. But there's more companies in the era of AI achieving similar type of results as well. So now, if you say that you are growing from 1 to 4, I would say that okay, that's something that VCs and PEs kind of already expect.
180 people now for 2.5 years,
Yes.
and you've been building 6 businesses so far. Do you have any kind of a blueprint, like a step by step now? Like, and I'm sure there's many people who are maybe early stage founders or want to start your own companies. If you were to start a new company right now, with all the experience and knowledge you have, what's the first steps, the first few things you do the first 3 to 6 months?
Yeah. So there is a blueprint. The blueprint is actually built more on the sales side. So if you ask me to build a business in selling pretty much like anything, I would say that it doesn't matter of the product. We can sell 2 million of ARR within the first year, like dependent pretty much. And now not trying to be over egoistic or anything, but like the blueprint in building the sales engine is always the same. And what I like to compare building a business is that you need since day one to start building in a franchise type of way. And you need to use, for example, McDonald's as an example. And people many times are like, okay, why are you considering McDonald's, etc. So the reason why I like the McDonald's business model is that every single person is productive since day one. Two, they have unlimited resources for talent because basically anyone can be a chef at McDonald's or a cashier there. So they have the processes that actually turn anyone into a chef. Then again, if you want to work on a Michelin star restaurant or you set up a Michelin star restaurant, only to find chefs is extremely hard. Or finding the waitresses, etc., there that can like keep that level of standard. But ultimately, the way that we've had is always think about like McDonald's principle. How do we make a sales process as easy as I can take anyone from the street, teach them to sell, go to the clients and be productive since the first like month onwards. And too many people like they love overcomplicating stuff. They want to be that we are special, we are doing everything so extremely complicated ways no one can replicate us. Yes, no one can replicate it, and that's why you cannot replicate it either because it's so freaking complex. You are tied to like best possible salespeople on the market, which again are super hard to find and also expensive. So how can you instead find ambitious people that can get the product out there? Because if I look at most of the startups, the biggest challenge that companies have from my point of view is building a go-to-market engine. And it's not rocket science, but it's consistency and it's processes and it's simplifying everything that you do and not overcomplicating. And what happened in one of my previous businesses called Leader, where we hired a very experienced sales director from abroad, our sales basically collapsed because suddenly from a very simplistic sales model, we went to start using MedPick, where our best salespeople were not selling anymore. They were now interrogating clients because like implementing a lot of complex stuff with simple people makes it actually unusable. That would probably work in enterprise sales, etc., but the enterprise sales methods probably don't work with the SME market. So you need to understand and make stuff as simple as possible.
I wonder how early do you think about sales? And I'm specifically saying that because I work with many early stage founders and often then start building products and the tech and all this kind of stuff, but they get to focus on sales a little bit too late. And I know you have a commercial background, so how do you maybe give us some example? Like how do you validate that there is a real demand for the product, and how early do you think about selling the product
Yeah.
when you're starting a
So
new company?
well, I think that you need to start thinking about sales before you ever write any line of code, because you need to validate the whole business model. That is this something in terms of like unit economics that you can actually even make work? Because if you're selling, let's say, to SMEs and you are doing like outbound sales, your minimum ARPA to make your sales process even in theory work is that the ARPA needs to be over 8K. Otherwise, it actually becomes almost undoable. Then, if you can get your ARPA to 4K, if you have like a hybrid model that you get inbound and then you close it with sales or AEs, you can still make it work. But if the ARPA stays below 4K, outbound is basically like out of the picture. And too many people, they don't even do the math before they start writing the code. So the business model might be broken before the whole business is even like started to run. And then you need to know all the like metrics, like how do you actually split, like how many meetings can an SDR book? Okay, an SDR can book 40 meetings. I can pay for each meeting that amount. I know that if a salesperson meets 40 clients, they can close 15% of them. That means 6 deals. If the ARPA is now, let's say, 2K, that's 12K of revenue. And now you need to pay an AE and a BDR. So you see that the math with 2K doesn't work. If you put it to 4K, it's 24K. It's already like on the edge. But if it's 8K, you are already generating with two people 50K a month. So the business model is viable. So that's why I think that the unit economics in sales need to be tested before you write a line of code, because that can actually like affect the way how you build the product. The second thing which I think about is like I hate the term MVP myself, because an MVP for tech, like who cares about an MVP? An MVP can be different for me and different for you, but like a minimum sellable product, which is a new term that has been emerging on the market, makes way more sense, because that actually allows you to validate the market. The MVP is basically going to your friend and say that I have this type of product. What do you think about it? And they're like, yes, they are. Everyone's saying that it's great. And then when you start selling it, no one wants to buy it. That's why the minimum sellable product is great, because when you ask people for money, you actually get their honest opinion. Then it's not anymore that, Stoyan, this is a great product. It's actually, yes, I don't want to buy it. I don't value it enough. So that's where you get, from my point of view, like the real feedback. And maybe a very personal thing about like myself is that when we were doing one exit, I had to go through quite a lot of psychology tests. And I had there like empathy as my second worst quality, but then caring was my third highest. And this was a bit of surprise for me, because I actually thought that they are the same thing, but apparently they are not. So what this actually comes down into was that if someone, for example, let's say that they are slightly overweight or they are overweight, and they keep eating like chocolate, candy, ice cream, etc. And then they come to me that, Mikael, feel a bit overweight. I'm not the guy who will tell that, hey, you're not, and etc. I will actually say that you should stop doing this. You should start running. You should start exercising. You should actually take care of your health. And that's kind of how it was explained to me, like the difference between empathy and caring. And too many times people go to their trusted people who have a lot of empathy and don't want to go through the harsh challenge, or they don't want to say the truth that your idea actually sucks. And then you spend a lot of time building that business, and then you're like, but my friends told me that this is a great idea. Your friends were not putting money. If you validate your friends, at least ask for some investment, then you might get an honest opinion.
But in that case, can you give us some example? Because I think people listening, they always love the, what exactly did you do with this business or the previous business? To how many people did you go to? How did you find it? Did you put up a landing page with the minimal sellable product? Like what exactly did you do to how many people? So you're like, you know what?
Well, people are
That's it. Let's
usually
start.
afraid of this device. It cannot be seen well, but this is the best device in the world. It's a phone. And then this is your left hand. And people are many times afraid of picking the phone, putting on the left hand, and start calling. So, like, that is your best possible tool that you should use. Like, that's the best weapon that you have as a startup. So, left hand and a Samsung. And for some people, maybe an iPhone. But like, taking that up, thinking who would be clients that would utilize this product, and like if I take Leader as an example, so the first version that we had was an in-page bot, which was hard coded with just a front end that we would basically be able. We didn't have a proper builder to build those, but the client could see the end product. It had quite a lot of more work for us to maintain it. It had no analytics, etc. But then we started to run to clients. Hey, this brings you the value. It already generates you the conversions. It doesn't have all the controllable stuff, but it generates value. Before the backend or the first version of the backend was ready, we probably had like 10 clients. And those 10 clients also helped us shape the product, because too many times the hypothesis that we have in our head is like also wrong. And I'll give you an example of VPSO AI. So we have a Google Ads product, which is way superior that any agency can offer. My idea was that we use agencies as a go-to-market channel for this. We created a tool that allows them to create campaigns, let's say, 100 times more efficiently than how they do it currently. We went to agencies, and after the three first agencies, I was like, okay, our hypothesis is wrong. The agencies don't care about the client's best interest. They care about more about their own invoicing. And I do kind of like understand, but I think that it should be kind of like more a mix of both. But what we understood was that, okay, the tool works, an agency could use it, but if I want to sell it to the end client, it's not good enough yet. So then if I was just building it to the agencies and blindly expecting that they are going to be the resellers on this, we would have been building the product completely towards a wrong direction. But then when you go and ask for money and they are like, no, then you're rating your model.
Yeah. Do you like working in those type of sprints or any kind of like, we need to figure out this really really fast and it's going to be quick and dirty, but we need to get to the point fast? Like, do you like to work in these type of cycles in your company?
I think that it depends, because as you called it a sprint, like many people look at building a company as a marathon, but ultimately I don't think that it's a sprint, neither it's a marathon. It's actually a marathon of sprints. And now if you've ever run a marathon, the problem is that if you do a sprint in the middle of the marathon, the rest of the marathon might feel quite heavy. So of course, like it causes sometimes that you are actually just like very, very, very tired. Just like 3 weeks ago, I was speaking with the head of product in our company, both of us like on a Friday, that we were just like so freaking exhausted. And I was like, I cannot work this weekend, but I actually took the Friday evening off and I was at full strength again Saturday morning. So then we could continue. So you just sometimes need to consider as well, like how much energy you have, because as said, it's you cannot put everything into that one sprint, because after that sprint ends, as you spoke about the pay, what was the pay?
Pay hog.
Yeah, so as you said about that founder, that they do a sprint, they fix one issue, and same afternoon the next comes. So unfortunately, that's the life of an entrepreneur.
And in that regard, maybe we can talk a little bit about productivity. I mean, this show is called Productivity Mastery. I wonder, how do you have any kind of a system of prioritization? Because I can imagine, as a founder, as a CEO, a lot of things need your attention. On the one
Yep.
side, you gotta perform, you gotta get things done yourself and execute. On the other side, you are responsible to leading teams and the leadership and so on. So do you have any kind of a system, like on a weekly basis you do something, on a daily basis you how do you prioritize to make sure you focus on what matters most?
Yeah, so I have a to-do list which I actually like. It's the place where I end my workday, and it's the place where I start my workday. Seeing like what has changed and what are the priorities, where do I need to focus, like always. Like my biggest strength, if I look at this from a personal level, like is like consistency. Like if someone says that I need, and this goes actually down to my childhood. So my father was extremely strict about studying, etc. So we had to put a lot of extra effort um, into school stuff, and it like built a lot of resilience around me. So my friends might be outside playing, and my father said that, hey, you need to write this, for example, this chapter of German into paper, and if you had one mistake there, you had to do it again. And then you are missing there one comma from somewhere, and then you are there spending another 1, 2 hours writing that down, and you can see from the window all your friends play football outdoors, and you feel like crying, but if you cry, like stuff doesn't get easier, it gets worse, and you just had to go through it. So it doesn't matter really like how much shit you put on my table and just say that clean this up. I have the resilience and the consistency to go through it. And like the biggest virtue is really behind the consistency and the resilience is the discipline that honestly, like bring it on. Like when I wrote the first book, it actually started by a joke. And a friend of mine had been writing 70 pages of a book for like 1.5 years. And then my other friend said that, yeah, Mikael will make a challenge that he does it in 2 weeks. I honestly had no idea what I was signing up to. And then we were going with my wife and our first child on a holiday. And I was like, yeah, I promised to make this book. Um, I and then again, if I say that I'll do something, like I really respect my word, so I also want to keep it up. So I was like, okay, I will do it. I thought that I would write
How
like,
did the negotiation with your wife go, with
yeah, she
on
kind of
that
knows that.
project?
Yeah, we have a lot of stories of this. That when I start doing something, then like in or out. There's nothing in the middle. So, but
Mm.
I told her that this is like 2, 3 hours a day. But ultimately, the 2 weeks was honestly like 6 to 12 hours a day sitting on the desk, uh, making the book. Like I was completely surprised how much effort was like, and that time, 2014, when it was done, there was no like ChatGPT that could help you if you're like out of ideas or structure, etc. But since then, I've done two other books. Now I know the process. And the first book, like how you actually start writing it, is difficult. But after that, it's kind of like easy. If I had to do it again, I would do it in half of the time.
Can you tell us the name of the books? Maybe some of the people from the audience are interested to check
Yeah,
them
so
out.
there's a book called Startup Warrior. This was mainly done for young entrepreneurs starting their first ventures. At the time, I didn't have like any successful ventures myself, so it was more like, hey, don't make these mistakes, and this is something that you should avoid, and maybe this is something that you should do. Then I wrote another book about like lead generation, which was about like how do you improve conversions on the website, etc. And the last one that we've done is a book called Never Miss a Search. So SEO has always been this like black box. People make it like so fancy, and all the books around SEO are more written for like technical people. And like I wanted to make something which makes like SEO transparent, like that it's not built from an SEO expert to an SEO expert. It's done by a business person to a business person. Why is it important to be visible? How do you challenge your agency that they are doing the right stuff? What are the impacts that you should, as a business owner, be measuring? So way more concrete and way more like outcome driven and like short chapters. Like I'm a guy who likes that stuff is concrete. If you can say something in 3 phrases, why spend 10? So just like be very concise and people can just like pick individual chapters if they don't have time to read the full book. And you can read it like each of them separately.
I love it, man. I want to get back to the productivity piece. So, and if we can go even more tactical, I
Sure.
think it would be cool. Like, how do you plan and prioritize? And I mean, do you have any kind of a, for example, for me, I need to have 1 or 2 goals that are major goals. There'll be a lot of them, but I just know that this is the most important at the moment. And then I need to know what are the top 3 priorities, kind of a set of activities that if I pay attention to them and my energy is spent on them, I'm gonna make progress, and that's gonna be the most important to the business. And then I have my daily practice, as you said, the to-do list, but in a specific way. And then I look at my top 3 priorities. I look at the goals, and I'm trying to kind of balance and put in a lot of those things in my mornings,
Yep.
so I can make progress, like deep work in the morning, and in the afternoon I can have a lot more meetings and administration. Like, I'm wonder what is your process? Do you have any kind of a, prioritization? You do it with your leadership team? Like what works for you?
Yeah, so I think that we need to put it in like two different like stages. So one is that you have like because I've been the past 6, 7 years very involved in product development there, and there you have like the epics and then you have tasks within every epic. An epic is basically a big goal that you are trying to achieve or a big feature, which then consists of the tasks to make that feature set. So we have like business goals. Where do we want to take the business? And they are like, let's call it the North Star metric to some extent. Like, hey, these are the things that we need to accomplish within the next 3 months, which is then split up into all those tasks in the to-do list. And the way how I have the to-do list, like, and this is a classic. So you have the important, urgent stuff, and then you have the important, not urgent, and you have those like 4 categories there. So I move those boxes around, which goes, and unfortunately, the some, which sometimes the team complains that, hey, Mikael, you haven't done this. I'm like, yes, it's on the not important and not urgent task. That of course it's nice to have. We will do it when we have time, but like you always end up doing it, and people are very bad in doing the not urgent but important tasks because they are usually some of the stuff is not that nice. So people are many times like way too reactive than proactive because the not urgent stuff is what actually requires discipline. You staying on the computer in the evening or on the weekend just to get those stuff done where no one is present, but it will have an edge on the business as well.
And let's talk about team a little bit. You mentioned the team.
Yep.
um do you, like, your leadership team, the first few employees, how do you pick them? Like, now that you have been doing different companies, you probably know many people, but you
Yep.
also have a lot of experience. How do you pick the core team members first?
Well, the core team members have been pretty much the same for quite a while in quite many businesses. So it's like we've worked a long time already together in different companies. So the person, for example, with VPSOI, who I didn't knew from the past, was Mika, our CRO. Uh, Extremely amazing individual in terms of business and character. And he was a new addition. Would I do a new business with him? Absolutely any day. So that the network keeps like expanding always. And then in one business, if I look at the management team that we have today at VP SEO AI, I would work with any of them and hopefully will work with all of them very, very long in the future as well. So the qualities that I usually look for people, like people that work with me, well, of course, you need to be smart and you need to be hardworking, etc. But like I very much value integrity and like values that people have. So like people that are using like elbows, etc., to move ahead in their career or are very selfish or egoistic or this kind of stuff, like I don't like that type of people. Like during the past years, I very much like love some of the principles of Buddhism and sharing and caring and all of this. So like values and honesty and transparency with people matters more to me now than anything else. You might be the smartest guy or the best like developer or the best salesperson. I really don't want that person in the company if he doesn't have that sense of integrity built within the system.
Do you
So
have
that,
that written down somewhere? Like, is that kind of formalized? Like now with your company, like these are the top three, four, five values and behaviors, or it's more like it's not really formalized, but you know it.
yeah, well, there's basically like those are put into two categories. One is like we very much like value leadership without a title, which means that you are helping people out. And then the other one is like, what do you actually do when no one's watching? So those are the two like driving principles. We have a very like we have a share option program in VPSO which I love. Like even our board has said that Mikael, this is weird. There's no financial numbers or any numbers that you need to hit, but it's actually like built on two driving principles that you actually like you lead without a title and then like how do you treat people when no one's watching there. So those are the things that we look after. And I think that that's ultimately like what also forms the culture. Because if I'm setting the culture in any possible way, of course, like my behavior impacts the culture. But so does a person who just like does the dishes or etc. So what we've tried always to build in terms of culture, etc., is like, and this goes down to a few principles. One, if VP say we don't hire leaders from outside, so we want to build our own leadership, which shows that people can grow within the company. People see that we care about them. It is to some extent a bottleneck for growth. Maybe we could find new leaders outside, but then again, like we've also experienced many times that we've hired bad leaders from outside and we've wasted a lot of time because they don't understand the business nuances. And many times you have people that want to lead and then you have people that want to manage, but everyone claims it the same way. So if you have a person inside, you can already see almost like who is leading the team even already without a title, and then you can just come to that person that, hey, you are already doing a great job in coaching the team and helping them out. Do you want to do it officially with a title as well? So it's a combination of both.
And I love you
And
say that because there's no good or bad culture. There's weak and strong culture, but the way you set up the culture, there could be many different ways. Like for you
absolutely.
guys, that works. For
Yep.
somebody else, they'll say we want to bring leaders from the outside because that will be some new perspective. That like, and it could work for them. So
Yep.
so for those of you watching, I mean, if you're a founder, you decide. You
Of
have
course.
to figure out what you want. You try things out. Maybe some things don't work, but but you gotta set your own culture, and it's important to address it when somebody breaches. What's the limits?
Absolutely.
What's the
Absolutely.
excellent, man? But the 180 people for 2.5 years, again, that could be challenging. I had somebody previously on the podcast. They grew quite fast, um, and she was like, "It's really difficult. It's really difficult to find the right people that we want them to join. We can afford them, but also they're willing to join us. What do you do to give them the honey, like to make sure that they actually want to join you guys and they're A players?
Well, I think that there's two things. First of all, like the person doing hiring in our company, he is amazing in finding talent. And then also like Mika, our CRO, who is part of the recruitment process, like I've never seen anyone better hiring than him. He is amazing. But ultimately, I think that you just need to create environment that people want to be part of. And people can sense if people actually care about them or not. So are people just numbers on spreadsheets, or do you actually like know their names? Like I've failed lately. Still, we were like 130 people. Every time that I went to Netherlands, I spent time with each of them. I was taking one-to-ones with team members. I knew everyone's names. I had checked them in LinkedIn. I knew more or less what they've done in the past, which made it possible to actually like know who they are. Now it's honestly like I know 95% of our team members' names. Always the new round now is like getting you recognize the face, but you don't always anymore like put it into the name unless you speak with that person. But I think that every time that I'm, for example, at our Dutch office, I try to spend a lot of time with individual people, emphasizing the values, emphasizing why are we doing this. And I think that as I did it that to the first team members, the new team or let's call it the so-called like originals that have been on the company for a long time, and a long time in this case is a year. uh, they are passing that forward as well, that they are helping each other out. So like in our company, like the funny part was like Christian, our CTO, now came to the Dutch office, and he didn't introduce him as or himself as a CTO. He was like, I work with tech, because if anyone asked like, what do? I say that I work with product. And then it was funny that one person came to me and said that this is funny that this goes so much on the whole like leadership level that no one is like, hey, I'm the CEO, I'm the CTO. It's like I work with product, I work with tech, and no one of us ultimately like behaves that we would be more important. Like ultimately, I don't feel that I'm any more important than a team on our customer success team or a BDR or an AE. Like we are all equal. The company needs all of us. We are just like doing different tasks and making sure that the company like follows, and everyone knows the quote from NASA cleaner about like sending people to the moon, and that's probably the principle that we live by, and where people live by as well. And people that come to the office, they can feel it because people celebrate each other's victories. And I think that that's how a good business and a good team is actually built.
And I want to remind everybody who's watching a live, I can see a few questions already in the comments. We're going to take them just in a second. So uh, post your questions in the comments if you have more. And in a few minutes, we'll start taking questions and cover them. Um, Before that, though, I wanna because you started mentioning about some of those good practices. For example, as you said, get to know your people, treat them well, have one-on-ones, try to get to know their motivation. Like, can you share some other kind of practices that you guys have? Maybe they evolved in the team. I don't know. You do some feedback sessions or team offsites, like some specific activities or practices, rituals that worked for you and your company.
Well, because most of them feel for us like so natural that I don't know if they are special or not special, etc. But first of all, we are super transparent about anything. Anything that anyone wants to know, we share it. We have monthly like all hands sessions where we go through like all the numbers, everything that's happening on the company, even with like sometimes too much transparency, some could say. But then again, like, why wouldn't we share? Because many times you are doing decision A because there's something like beneath which the team members might be that, okay, I don't understand this. But if they know that there's this like decision A being made because the company has this kind of challenge, it helps people get on the same page. So we try to keep everyone on the same page and not like hide anything. Like even like leadership sessions, they are on a glass room at the office. Anyone can essentially see like what are on the slides. If we cannot keep stuff there, like then it shouldn't probably be there either if we need to start now having secrets. But ultimately, I think that it just comes down into really like caring and like, well, we spoke about this podcast that like I stopped playing football 5 years ago. I gave out all my possible like football gear, even that I just won't play football anymore, just not to hurt myself again. And then our Dutch team signed up us to the football like company league. And then I started to get messages in WhatsApp that Mika, come to play. I'm like, I don't have gear. I don't have anything. I've stopped playing. And they were like, no, we want to see. And then on the all hands, it was said that come to watch Mikael run. I was like, okay, I'll go. Bought all the gear. Woke up 4 a.m. that morning, and we had the football game at I think it was like 9 something in the evening, taking the time difference. So for me, it was 10 in the evening, and I had woken up at 4 a.m. There I was playing with the team football and making sure that you are part of the team. And I think that that ultimately, like, you just need to be there spending time. And we do a whole lot of dinners in Netherlands because you can create some type of connection with people at the office while you're working. But ultimately, when you break bread together, you do sports, you play paddle, you play football, it creates a whole new level of connection with the people as well. And I think that that has a difference as well, that we are all just like humans and all just like people together trying to build something extraordinary in the company.
As you said, man, like we sometimes we make it too complicated, and it's simple. Like I love that you share some of those practices. For you, might be natural, but I'm sure it can be inspiring for some people to, hey, this could be a good thing. Maybe we can do this. But in a nutshell, it goes back to, if you have the intention to be caring leader, to create a caring culture, and caring doesn't mean soft. Caring
Of
also
course.
means accountability, also means
Absolutely.
standards. But if you really care for your people to grow and to have a great experience working with you and achieving goals, and I mean, then you come up with the ideas. You change them. You sometimes they come from the team, right?
Absolutely. And if I may, I'll ask you, like, this is a question of one of my first like slides that I also do with new people. So what is a good leader? Like, because as said, I like to simplify stuff. So what is a good leader?
Somebody who cares about their people.
I would even make it more simple. It's a good human being. It's like ultimately, if you think about it, it just summarizes. Cares, wants to help people grow because a good human being, that's what they do. And it's actually not or more complicated than that. People just
Mhm.
sometimes feel that, okay, I'm a leader, I need to dress this way. And like it was funny. This is actually Stein, our like head of people, he said that Mika, you're the coolest guy at the office. So last day we walked from the hotel with my colleague Pontus to the office, and it rained cats and dogs. So all my clothes were completely wet. So I basically had a formal shirt and shorts at the office because all the rest was wet. And I was like, the CEO dressing this way, this is cool. And I was like, yeah, when you're completely wet with clothes, who cares about the clothes? We are here all doing the work together, and at least the upper part looks good if I want to meet him.
Doesn't matter what you wear externally, but what you wear internally, if you want to go
Exactly.
metaphorical.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
look, man, I love asking you questions, but let's get the audience a little bit, and I think we have like 10 minutes, so keep that in mind. We have at least 5 questions, so you're a mathematician. Uh, the first question, by the way, thanks everybody for joining us live, for being with us. Here's the time to say, if you haven't signed up, subscribe to Productivity Mastery. Make sure to subscribe. That's the only ask I have to you guys on YouTube or Spotify, whatever you're listening to podcast, maybe LinkedIn. That being said, Yeva was the first one to ask a question, and Yeva is asking, Mikael, what role the mindset plays in your entrepreneurial journey?
So
What's the
what
role of
role?
mindset?
Sorry, what role?
What is the what is the role of mindset in your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I don't know to answer that question, honestly. It's like, I think that you need to have a growth mindset that pushes you forward, and you need to be challenging everything that you do to become better all the time. But ultimately, I think that a mindset is like it's like a top level cluster, which then includes like discipline and all these other virtues. So yes, it's important. How important? I think that you need to have the balance within the lower levels of stuff which are related to the mindset.
All right, we continue with Marina Georgieva, who's asking, she's saying, morning, how important is domain knowledge, knowing the industry of the product service being developed?
Well,
What, and I'm going to continue, I think it's a continuation. What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts if the entrepreneur believes in his great idea but is lacking enough domain knowledge initially? Adding partners or spending time delving into it, or always stay in familiar industry?
yeah, so I think that this is a super good question, because this is something that you honestly like need. Because if you ask me, am I an XEO expert in every single like detail? I'm not. I'm absolutely not. But I would challenge that, like, probably Jeff Bezos doesn't know to set up all the possible like Amazon stuff that they run on the cloud, but you have experts on that, but you understand on a high level what's the impact. So, for example, in our team, I have Max. Max is a hardcore SEO expert. So every time that I have a challenge, I go to him and I walk through my idea with him. But then again, like the speciality of an entrepreneur many times is translating that expert knowledge into like commercial intelligence. And again, in conversions, I wasn't an expert either. I would say that in a scale from 1 to 10, I'm a 9 on like conversions or SEO. Like, I understand and I can discuss with an expert, but they will have always like more knowledge. But usually I know and understand more the commercial value that you can drag out of it. But I would absolutely say to bring experts around you, because if you think about like I didn't have any recruitment background when I went with Jovila. It was a recruitment marketing platform, but I understood a lot about marketing, which I felt that could be used in recruitment. I understood about marketing analytics, and when I look at influencer marketing, I saw that, okay, I understand the basics about influencer marketing, but I understand that the funnel is completely broken there, that you need more conversion knowledge there, which I felt that you could add. So when you come from outside, I think that you can string in pieces combined together, because as in the past, SEO was this kind of like black box with just traffic. I understood conversions and I understood that this is a full funnel. So that's where I see that you need the combination and the generalist who is able to pull pieces together, combined then with the industry expert.
Excellent. So, Eva has another question. You kind of covered some of it, but maybe you can elaborate a little more. What helps you nurture relationships with your family to have that support while you still sacrifice your time for business growth?
I think that it's a whole lot of communication, and like the people that suffer even more than my family is myself, because I honestly don't have time for myself, and my family also sees it, that all the time that I'm putting in, I'm putting into them or to the business, and ultimately it's about like common goals in the family as well. Like, and it's been that we share goals, and ultimately she is like the number one like partner for me in everything, and we can share, and we live like a life together, and she's been part of all the ventures for 7 8 years, so she can see on a daily basis what am I going through, and it's easy for her to see that, okay, Mikael needs help here or there, and she's able to provide that support. But ultimately, it comes down that she also sees that I don't do this for egoistic reasons, but I'm trying to provide the best as I can to the family as well.
And since we're getting close to the end of the episode, I have a question. Um, Entrepreneurship is hard, man. Everybody who's been an entrepreneur, they know it's not just the sunshine and roses and and all the the beautiful things we post on LinkedIn and so on. There's hits all the time. There's difficulties all the time. You think about something, something happens, and there's a lot of uncertainty you have to navigate. What do you do when you get a hit and it's the worst possible moment? Maybe you've been tired and exhausted, and then you get a hit. Do you have any kind of tips on how do you get back on track so you can resolve the problem? Like, what do you do? Do you have any kind of a like a mindset or a trick, or I don't know?
This comes a bit to what I told earlier on the episode that like when you've gone through a lot of shit, you get a whole lot of resilience. Like as I told what happened when I was a child, like seeing all the friends play and you did one mistake with one comma and you feel like crying, but you can't, and you just need to put the effort in. That shapes your mindset and the resilience there and the discipline as well. Like whatever needs to get done will get done. Or then with the Vara.com, where we saw that, okay, every single day for the next 6 months at least will be bad, and just listening to complaints, you just take that. And many times like people that have, and of course like I've been lucky, I haven't gone through cancer, but I had a discussion with my grandmother, and she was like, I asked her like, what is one of the things that you'd hope that you would have experienced earlier, and she told me that she hopes that she would have had cancer earlier, and she recovered that. So and I asked her first, like, why? And she was like, many things that previously felt important, ultimately that she was upset about, were completely like meaningless. So once you've gone through like what we did with Vara.com, go through like losing everything that you had built for 2.5 years, having a whole lot of like personal debt, etc., and coming up from there, then you kind of compare that, is this actually so bad? And ultimately, like I'm very bad in like when people complain, like the complaining doesn't solve a topic. You should just like get to work. If that problem takes 2 hours to fix, most people spend 1 hour complaining and then another hour being sad. And in that 2 hours, you would have already like fixed it. Maybe this comes down to empathy, that I don't have empathy to myself as well. Like if there's a problem, fix it. Like don't complain. It doesn't help. Go to the gym, do the exercise. It doesn't matter if you feel it yes or no, just like you do it because you know that it needs to be done. And same in work, like you will always have problems. And like a friend of mine always says that in life you have always the same amount of problems. The problems just change. If you don't have money, you have the problem like, where do I get money? If you have money, then you have the problem like, where do you invest the money? Because everything is like problem style just changes. You just have different problems.
Yeah. What do you focus on? Do you focus on
Exactly.
complaining and gossiping and feeling worried about it, or you immediately get back and you focus on fixing? And that was actually my final question is, you have this attitude, you build this throughout the experience, but how do you scale it down the team? How do you build a culture where this mindset, this resilience is what everybody else focuses on?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if we've been successful with that yet. I think that that's also like just like comes over time. I don't think that that's something that you can just like educate, but you just need to have people there, and probably like some things just only come when you get like hits on your face. Then you realize that, hey, this is what happens. And sometimes like you need to give space to your team members also to do mistakes. And sometimes I know that this person is hitting against the wall, but if the wall is not like so big that they can recover from it, sometimes you just need to let people also do the mistakes, and then they learn from it. Because if you just always correct them, similar to your kids, they will never learn. So you need to give them a lot of like trust and freedom, but all the time also on the important topics to have an eyes on them, and make sure that they are on the course. And then also like knowing that you are always there for them, having their back. You are not looking what they do to spot the mistake that they do, but you are actually there to support them, and you have their best interest in mind.
Mikael, this been an amazing episode, man. Thank you so much for sharing, for being with
Thank
us,
you so
for
much.
being completely honest. By the way, you said the part of your value system is to be transparent and honest. You've been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for all the inspiration. I want to give you the space to share, first of all, to leave the audience with your final message, but also to share again, maybe about your books. Maybe you want to go to more podcast conferences, or you're looking for an employee and you can maybe share here, or like, I don't know. I give you the space to share right now what's in your mind and what can we do for you, because you've been so helpful.
Well, first of all, if you feel like connecting, please find me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message. And maybe something that I want to challenge everyone with. If you look at the best possible version of yourself that you would like to see out there, I would challenge you to write that on paper and like check out the traits that you need to develop on yourself to actually like become that person. Because ultimately you need to model that person that you want to become, and then you need to act like one, and then you can actually like be one. And I would challenge everyone today to go to the office, be the best version of yourself, give people that you care about their hug and say that you're happy to work with them, etc., and see how that changes your day.
Love it, man. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much, Mikael. Once again, if you enjoyed Productivity Mastery, make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, anywhere else. That really helps us to bring even more amazing people like Mikael. Mikael, thank you so much, brother. I wish you all the best this week and forward.
Likewise.
And everybody, have a good one. Have a great week. See you at the next episode of the Productivity Mastery Podcast. Ciao.